Hello, and welcome to week one of the SCDA Premier Ball White Division. So the SDCA splits all of their different leagues they have ongoing into different types of Pokeballs, and then the Premier Ball Division was split into red and white. So we're in White Division. We have some standards to uphold because I do believe we came in third in the power rankings, mainly due to Quick. Shout out to the winner of the PGL Season 15. He helped me fix my team because it was pretty horrible. I will put both mine and my opponent's team up on the screen. Can't do that right now, but I can go over them real quick. So my opponent has the Ogerpon Wellspring. All the Ogerpon forms were draftable in this league. I wanted one, and they all went before I would have been able to pick one up. I wanted one round 3, so they all went fast. Especially, I expected to get Cornerstone. Did not get Cornerstone, but my opponent has the water version with Water Absorb and the special defense boost when it teras. They've got Iron Moth, so bringing back old enemies. Iron Moth is incredibly threatening special attacker, can boost its speed to be faster than everything, or can boost its special attack to KO, half my team, so pretty tough. It's got the Salamence for Intimidate, Tailwind, can run physical or special. Pretty good coverage, a very good Terra Mon. We got the SCIZOR, another Tailwind setter, really weak into my Moltres, and a lot of my Pokemon have fire coverage, so I don't know that it shows up, but it might. It's got the Snorlax. I do anticipate Snorlax to show up because it's a really good blanket check into Spectrier, honestly. Another check into Spectrier is the Muck. Those are his only two answers to Ghost-type coverage, so I expect one, if not both of them, to show up, maybe with some Gluttony Berries, maybe Thick Fat on the Snorlax, maybe AV on the Muck, and maybe neither of them show up. I don't know. We've got the Golduck. Only reason I could see it coming is Cloud9 to stop my Tyranitar Sand plus Dugtrio Sand Force, but if he wants to dedicate a whole Pokemon to stopping Tyranitar Sand, he might as well just run, Sunny Day on something. So I don't really anticipate that. He's got the Heracross. Very strong physical attacker, kind of a middling speed tier, and I have pretty good answers into it. He's got the Misdreavus, that's his only form of Trick Room. If it comes, he will definitely have a Trick Room mode, and I will have to lean a little harder into Persian to taunt it and prevent it from getting Trick Room up. But his team is quite a bit faster than mine outside of Spectrier and Persian, so I doubt he brings Trick Room. And his last is Tinkatuff. So mainly just baby Tinkaton without the coverage. So it doesn't have the Gigaton Hammer. It doesn't have really any offenses, but it still has the Fake Out, Play Rough, Knock Off, Thunder Wave. A lot of utility. I do anticipate it potentially coming versus me. I think it's a pretty decent matchup. And so what I've decided to bring today is a very standard Klefki. We've got the dual screens Light Clay. So we've kind of got two utility support to offensive support and two setup mons, hoping to clean up with our two setup mons. So we got the dual screens Klefki, Dazzling Gleam to help chip away at his team, and then Thunder Wave to slow down his really fast threats, things like Iron Moth, Ogerpon, Salamence. Especially if Moth is an Electric or Ground Terra, I do expect it to be Electric, Ground, or Fairy. But if it's Fairy, then we can paralyze it, and suddenly even Speed Booster is not that big of a deal versus us. So yeah. Klefki, I tested with some. I don't know that it actually shows up. I originally thought these two would be a lead, but it's so passive. So I think Persian is actually going to be my main support mon this game. We've got the Fake Out. It outspeeds everything else on our team at neutral, so that I can get a Fake Tears off before Spectrier attacks, and I can also do things like Icy Wind before my other Pokemon attack, so that's just nice. I got the Taunt to prevent Trick Room, but we can also prevent things like Snorlax setting up and, lock him out of things like Protect, Thunder Wave on the Tinkatuff, so just a good utility move. Fake Tears makes Spectrier just one-shot things that it would normally two-hit KO, so we can get going faster with the Grim Neigh. Also really helps out our Komao. I think if we Fake Tears Spectrier and we get set up with Komao, we can one-shot it with a spread resisted move, which is kind of insane. Say hello to Eleanor over there. We've got the Spectrier. I really wanted Protect on this set, but I just couldn't fit it. And I also really wanted Citrus Berry on it, but Citrus was already on Persian. So we're just running with the Shadow Ball that it runs every week. We've got Terra Blast Fighting. Just really good coverage for Muck. Gets us away from the Dark Weakness, turns it into a resistance, and then Terra Fighting. Terra Blast does a ton of damage to Lax. With the Fake Tears, we might one-shot it, so that's nice. We got Snarl because Spectrier kind of loses to Moth. Otherwise, it doesn't win the War of Attrition and them hitting each other back and forth. And then Will-O-Wisp is just another good option. He has a ton of physical attackers, slower physical attackers. So just burning a single one of them kind of nullifies them for the rest of the game. Should have mentioned these two are both Ghost Terra. I don't anticipate Terra-ing them, but if he brings Tinkatuff and a Fake Out is the difference in me winning or losing the game, then I will. We've got the Moltres. Really weird set this week. We've got EVs in all 6 stats, and we have a negative SPDF nature. It's because especially defensive Ogre Pawn, special attacking Moltres does nothing to once it Terras. So Brave Bird gives us an option to still chunk it for like 30%, which means a lot of our other Pokemon can knock it out after that. And Brave Bird also hits into the Iron Moth a lot harder, as well as things like the Snorlax and AV Muck before they get boosted. Got the Overheat because dropping our special attack doesn't really matter if we can still click Brave Bird. So the strongest fire attack we could stand to fit, I thought made a lot of sense. We didn't really need more spread move coverage, just something that hits hard, gets one-hit KOs. We got the Tailwind to match his if he really tries to force that with the Salamence or the SCIZOR. And then Will-O-Wisp, once again, if we burn Snorlax, Muck, Salamence, that's physical, SCIZOR, which I don't know why we try to burn it if we're in with it with Moltres unless it Terras. Even the Tinkatuff and the Ogre Pawn. If we can burn them, they're so much less of an issue, and that facilitates our setup. Our first real win condition this week is the TYRANITAR. We've got enough speed that at +1, we actually speed tie our own Persian. I couldn't really get away from that. If I had run less speed, I would have either speed tied with +1 Komao or speed tied with Spectrier. Neither of those sounded that good to me. So I would rather just speed tie with Persian since they really don't matter that they go before each other because I'm not fake tearsing things to hit with a physical Tyranitar. We got the Rock Slide, really good coverage into his team. His team really only has 1 flying resistance outside of Terra types. So if Tinkatuff doesn't show up, Terra Blast flying is completely free to spam. High horsepower is just good secondary coverage if we don't Terra this and we're not locked into just spamming Rock Slide. And then 1 Dragon Dance is huge for us. And if he tries to rotate Mints in and out to intimidate us, not going to work because of the Clear Amulet. Finally, we have Komao. This was my overall first round pick. Hopefully not a waste. Sorry if you hear the cat collar in the background. His team, outside of Tinkatuff, does not like taking dragon moves a whole lot. Like SCIZOR kind of can, but doesn't appreciate them. So just a simple Clangorous Soul Throat Spray, get it +2 immediately for the cost of 30% of our health. But if we're under screens or have Persian support, that shouldn't matter too much. Cling Scales dual spread dragon damage is so good into his team. Flash Cannon is anticipating any fairy Terras he might have. And then Protect is in case I have Persian in the back and I want to bring it out to fake a Pokemon out so I can more safely set up. I have that. So that's the team we're bringing. I don't know if we'll win or lose. I know nothing about our opponents. This is a brand new league for me, but I know that a lot of people in the PGL do like this league a lot and it is pretty competitive. So we're going to try to make it work, and I'll be back when we have the battle going. So we see his Terra types are, he's got the Iron Moth Fairy type. That's what I anticipated. Muck is a Fairy type. Okay. Ogre Pawn is water, which it has to be. I have to mark that as a Ludicolo in this sheet. Got the Salamence. We got the Tinkatuff. And we've got the SCIZOR, rock type SCIZOR. That's scary. Go with Cassiopeia. So we've got game 1. We know his 6. We know Mint is Terra Ghost. Can't get faked out. Can't prevent Tailwind turn 1. Ogre Pawn is water. It has to be water. Tinkatuff is water. And SCIZOR is rock. So we can maximize that. So we want, what do we want to bring, knowing that he's got a lot of Fairy Terras? I don't know too much what he wants to do with Klefki. He did bring the Tinkatuff with the fake out, so Spectrier is going to be a solid lead. Knowing that he's a Ghost Terra Mints makes me less want to lead Persian, but I can actually fake Tears and Shadow Ball it immediately. We do have the Will-O-Wisp for the Muck. Did not bring Snorlax, okay. So that's interesting. If I get rid of the 4 he didn't bring, no Mischievous, no Heracross, no Golduck, no Snorlax. Then we see he is weak to rock and ground. So Tyranitar looks amazing here. And I mean, I guess it's Como for game 1. No Klefki, which is fine. And we have game 1, and playing on cart is giving me a lot more anxiety than playing on Showdown. Having that timer looming over me the whole time is very stressful. I like the picture, there's a cloth hanging out in the background. So, see, Ogerpon Mints is the lead, so he could follow me Tailwind here, pretty much for free. Does intimidate me immediately, but it really does not matter on these two at all. Could go for an Icy Wind, that's a free like 35% on Mints. Could also fake out the Ogerpon. I mean, Ogerpon doesn't ever one-shot Spectrier, so I think I can just Icy Wind, assuming the Tailwind's coming out. Go for a burn into the Ogerpon, expecting it to follow me. Because I do think he'll Tailwind, follow me, or Tailwind Ivy Cudgel. Both my Pokemon live Cudgel, no problem. Even with a Terra. So we do Icy Wind, no Terra comes out. Yeah, it does do about 40%. Does about, 10% to Ogerpon, but it's the speed reduction that we really care about. We do get a burn onto the Ogerpon. It can't be Lumberry or anything because it is forced into the mask. So it's much less of a threat now, especially to Tyranitar. Does set up the Tailwind, so his speeds are all weird now because he's at -1 but +2. And he's Focus Energy, so he's the crit build on the Ogerpon, which is scary. So let me check my speeds real quick. If I look at my Spectrier set into an Ogerpon that has Tailwind but is at -1. Only faster if it's no speed investment. So it's kind of awkward. I could go for a fake Tears into a Shadow Ball. I could also just go for another Icy Wind just to even the speeds all the way back to 0. I mean, I could knock out Mints here. Como could also come in, but I don't know if that's worth it, taking damage on. So I think I will just Shadow Ball into the Ogerpon. He does Draco into the Persian. We should eat that. Yeah, we eat it. He's -2 special attack now, so I can kind of ignore the Mints until Tailwind only has 1 turn left. Citrus Berry does get us back up to a nice amount of health. He Ivy Cudgels into the Persian, doubles into it. Okay. Crits, and we still live thanks to the burn, so that's huge. Icy Wind, so we will outspeed him with both of our Pokemon next turn. We get the Ogerpon down pretty far. Let's see if 2 Shadow Balls knocks it out from here. Go for 1. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love Spectrier. So, actually, how much does a Snarl do to Salamence? Snarl's doing... If we knock it to -2, we're doing 30 to 40%, so we're close to that. But I do think it's safer to just Icy Wind again. I don't know, I really want the Shadow Ball knockout, but I think it's safer to just Icy Wind again. And go for Snarl. This is only a bad play if we miss. So he's Spiky Shields, but we should still knock out Mints with this combination of attacks. We do hit into the Protect. It always gives me a little heart attack that I missed a 95% accurate move. We do land the Icy Wind. Knock Mints to very low. And we should get a Grim Neigh here. Snarl, once again, hitting into the Protect. But we do knock out Mints. That does give us +1. And I think this Ogerpon only has 1 turn left after the burn. So we can't ignore it and just hit into whatever his second side is. He will have Tailwind. available on that second Pokemon, so he can outspeed and do what he wants for one turn. But so far, we're looking pretty good. It is the Moth. It is Booster. And it is Booster Speed. Okay, so it's max of 132 special attack EVs. I think I do want to preserve the Fake Out. Going into T-Tar is risky here. T-Tar is good into this Moth in the late game. Going to Como is also kind of risky though. But I think if I want one of them to take a Moth hit, it's probably going to have to be T-Tar. And then Spectrier can go for another Snarl to KO the Ogerpon and weaken the Moth a little more. So we do switch. Does he Terra the Moth into a Fairy type this turn? Get our Sand up. He does not Terra, but he does go for a Gleam, which does do reasonable damage to T-Tar with a crit. Okay, doesn't even do 50% with a crit, so that's kind of nice. We Snarl it down. Spectrier gets another boost, and now the Moth is at -1. So the Moth really, even if it Terras here, it's not getting a KO on either Pokemon. So Spectrier is a huge threat right now. I can take some notes real quick. So I got Dazzling Gleam. On Mints, we've got Tailwind, Draco. And on this, we've got Ivy Cudgel. Alright. So Moth, not the biggest threat here, even if it Terras. Scizor could Bullet Punch into T-Tar, and that could be annoying. Scizor also walls our Como a decent amount, so we do want to get a Fake Tears off on that. I think I will Terra the T-Tar here. Go for a Rock Slide. No reason to really Dragon Dance. And I will try to... Honestly, I would try to burn the Scizor, but the Shadow Ball is just safe damage. Who do we want to KO? I'm going to aim into Scizor. Might be a misplay. He has Rock Terra, so he could go for that. This is just more of a defensive Terra. We should live Dazzling Gleam, of course. I doubt he goes for a Fire Poison move into the T-Tar, and then this is to help us live Bullet Punch as well. So he does go for the Bullet Punch into the Spectrier, though. Okay. So assessing the threat. Fiery Dances as well. Huge damage. KO Spectrier with the combination of the two. So that's fine. And Rock Slide does connect on both and does take out the Iron Moth. So we know Scizor is Bullet. Okay, we know Scizor is a Bullet Punch. You know this has Fiery Dance. Scizor's Leftovers. We know you are Ivy Cudgel. Well, Water Move. Water Gun, whatever. We do want to bring in Persian here for the Fake Out. We will probably just Fake Out Terra Blast. We know that it's also Focus Energy. And we know that it is Spiky Shield. So probably not Follow Me. Which is good to know for game 2. Item is Leftovers on Scizor. Yeah, well, it needs validation apparently. We'll just go for the Terra Blast into the Sizz. Actually, he hasn't Terra'd yet. So I think my better play is High Horsepower plus Fake Out. Because I think he's... Okay, he doesn't Terra. So he did get a Fake Out off. Flinches, he went for the Bullet Punch. And we miss High Horsepower. That's not great. Persian gets hit by a Sandstorm. And so does T-Tar now that we've Terrassalized. Yikes. Okay, that's a big miss. I expected him to go for the Terra. I will Terra Blast this turn. I can pivot Persian out, expecting him to want to Bullet Punch that slot and have another Fake Out later for when he does knock out one of my Pokemon. I think I will do that. Unfortunately, Clanging Scales is going to reduce our defense when we go for it, so that's a little scary. So we will switch. He got some good information on his team. Bullet punches, hits Como. Holy crit. Oh, that sucks a bit. We do go for the Terra Blast now. Does pretty huge damage. So now he might be more likely to Terra. Another Bullet Punch crit could knock us out, but is he going to get a crit? I hope not. So Terra Blast is very threatening. I think our safest play is to just go for Terra Blast into Clanging Scales, because regardless, one of these two attacks is not resisted. I wonder what the Terra rocks for. I guess it boosts his special defense. He Bullet Punches into T-Tar this time. We eat that, so that does like 80% to rock type T-Tar, so we need to keep that in mind. It's very strong. So we will knock it out with the Terra Blast into the Clanging Scale. So Spectrier gets 2 knockouts, T-Tar gets 1, and Como gets 1. So Spectrier goes 2-1, T-Tar goes 1-0, Como goes 1-0, and Persian A goes 0-0. And on his side, Moth got the only KO. And then he also brought change the music up. He also brought the Ogre, the Mince, and the SCIZOR. So does he switch up for game 2? Lead Spectrier was really strong there, and it makes me think Muck might show up in the front. Maybe even Muck Tinkatuff. Screens could be nice, but obviously Ogre Pawn kind of nullifies them a bit. If he does want to lead Ogre Pawn, we do have the Moltres, which actually looks really solid into his team since his Moth isn't Terra Electric or anything. He might go for Tailwind again. I think the Persian lead was super solid, just spamming Icy Wind. I think he doesn't lead Ments this time. I think I'll go with the Klefki. Klefki, I'm going to stick with Persian for now, but I think I will switch my second Mon. Maybe try to get Como going immediately. If he brings Muck, I can kind of deal with that. I will go for Spectrier in the back. T-Tar was really solid, honestly, against what he had. I do think Moltres is another good option. But I will just go for with the same 4, just slightly different order, anticipating him to switch up his lead this time. So we got some good knowledge. We know it's a booster. We know Ogre Pawn is Mask, and we know SCIZOR is Leftovers. So game 2, Iron Moth SCIZOR is the lead this time, so he does switch it up a lot. We have the Persian and the Como this time. So Gleam is likely turn 1. So what I actually can do here is go for a Fake Out into the Moth. Prevent that Terra Fairy Gleam. Don't have much in the back for it, unfortunately. We can Terra Dragon, but if he Terras himself, we're not in great shape. So this is not what I wanted for Como. But I don't have a great switch in here either. I think I could switch in Spectrier. It's not going to appreciate the Bullet Punch. But I think we need Como preserved in the back. Because if I can get rid of these two, Como looks great. But he led probably the worst 2 options for the Como. He does Terra. It probably is the Fairy Moth. Because Gleam is very spammable into Dragon type Como. So, yep, it is the Fairy type Moth. It's good to know. We will fake that out, prevent it from gleaming this turn, which is nice. And SCIZOR goes for Swords Dance. Alright, that's not scary at all. A Gleam won't KO us, but it's going to do a lot of damage. So he's got a lot of offensive threat out immediately. I can try to fake Tears and knock out SCIZOR immediately, or knock out the Moth immediately. But a Bullet Punch Gleam is probably going to knock out Spectrier here. So I can just Icy Wind, slow things down a bit. I mean, I can try to Wisp. I would Protect here if I had it. I don't. So I think I will just go for the burn into the SCIZOR. Does Bullet Punch, probably Gleams as well, right? Take the double KO. Yep, Gleam. And I do believe this one-shots Persian. Does not. Okay, I did EV it to live a Tera Fairy Dazzling Gleam, so that's nice. Fortunately, we still have to deal with these monstrous threats. We do slow them down. It really only matters on the Moth. We've got it back down to the 110 base speed, which is really not the most useful thing in the world. We see SCIZOR heals back up with leftovers. I can't go back in the... No, I'll just get Gleamed into Oblivion. I have to go T-Tar here, and I think I have to Terra again. I can go for a Dragon Dance, but I don't think I'm going to be able to set up on these guys, realistically. I think my only chance is to slow this Moth. It's going to knock out Persian almost certainly here, but my only chance is really to slow down the Moth again, and then hit both of them with a Rock Slide. I have to Terra again, just for the resistance. I was Electric Terra. I did change off of that pretty much last minute because ground top moves were too spammable into T-Tar. It would have been nice here. Would have made me resist the Bullet Punch. It would only do about 20%. So it wouldn't be nearly as threatening. Does launch the Bullet Punch. Okay, so I'm not allowed to slow down the Moth again, which is cool. Should have Dragon Danced there. He does go for the Gleam. Single target Gleam is going to hurt T-Tar a lot. 40%. Rock Slide misses something. The Moth, the thing we need to KO for Como. I do crit the SCIZOR though. Kind of pays for that a little, I guess. I think I have to try to get rid of Moth here. So we'll go into Como. We have one turn to protect it before Gleam just destroys it, since we burned our Terra. So we'll protect the Como. I guess Terra Blast is our best chance of knocking out the Moth. It's still going to be hard versus a SCIZOR, but we will protect Como. I don't know that we showed our Throat Spray. Does Bullet Punch into T-Tar. We live this outside of crit. We don't live that outside of crit. Okay, we lost. And didn't really learn anything new. He just used Gleam and Sword Stance immediately. So Como not looking great here. We lost to the lead. Moltres would have been a fantastic lead here. So that's on me. I should have led it. I was a little unsure. I don't even know what he brought in the back this game. I mean, I guess I just go for a Flash Cannon. I assume I just get one shot by the Gleam. So game 2. We've got all of my Pokemon just took an extra death. And Moth, did it get... No, SCIZOR got 1 KO. Moth got the other 3. So yeah, that was a bad lead by me. I should not have led Como into Fairy Moth. That was a mistake. Didn't really anticipate it to be the lead. I expected something like Muck Ogerpon. So that's on me. I'm very bad at leading in this game. I thought maybe Tinkatuff comes out too. But I guess if I thought Tinkatuff came out, then I should have probably brought Spectrier as the lead. Still not great in that situation. I think game 3, obviously leading Moltres is a huge call for us. It's very important. Obviously that Rock Slide miss on Moth didn't really matter unless we had crit it. Because we wouldn't have one-shot it with a spread move Rock Slide. Let's change back to Cassiopeia. Maybe that's our good luck music. Alright, game 3. We know we're leading Moltres. I do not want to get blown back like that again. It's actually really good into a lot of his potential leads. We could have the Spectrier as our other lead. It threatens... We threaten 2 Pokemon that can burn. We could also do the Klefki lead. We have Screens and Thunderwave. I kind of like that. We just threaten some utility, but we still have the offense. I think Como is not going to cut it here. I think it's pretty bad into the 6 he brought. I thought it was going to do great, but Double Fairy Terra is proving me wrong. So I think we have Tyranitar in the back, and we have Spectrier in the back. And we don't let the Scizor get a Swords Dance. We don't let the Moth get any boost. So let's see. We go to game 3 in our week 1 game. I know nothing about our opponent. I had no idea what to anticipate, but he is a good player. Like, obviously, he knows his best Mons into me and how to utilize them. That game 2 showed that perfectly clearly. So hopefully we can pick it back up. It does have the same lead as game 2, so that's what I wanted to see. So we show Moltres, Klefki. He could Terra the Scizor immediately. Go for a Terra Blast Rock into Moltres. I could predict that, go into T-Tar. I'm not sure that's the play I want to do, though. What I can do is go for the burn onto the Scizor. If he knocks out Moltres turn 1, we can live with it. And then I can go for a Thunder Wave on Moth. If both of these Pokemon are statused at the end of the turn, even if we lose both of our Pokemon, I think Spectrier plus Tyranitar can clean the game up. Does Terra, is it the Moth or is it the Scizor? Is the Scizor, I do wish I had brought Protect on Moltres, so we could have sussed that out a little bit. This is definitely what the Rock Terra is for. Yeah, it makes him way better into Moltres. So we do land the Thunder Wave onto the Iron Moth. It probably Fiery Dances into Klefki if I had to guess. Oh, we're faster with Moltres now, so we do get the Will-O-Wisp onto Scizor as well. So let's see what happens. Moth gets full parried instantly, so we get bailed a little on that, where we'll get more screen set because of that. He does go for the Terra Blast Rock. Do I live that while he's burned? It's still +2. It's still Scizor. We do live. Whether or not a Bullet Punch KOs us, I'm unsure. The bigger threat here is definitely still the Moth. A Tailwind's not that valuable. If I look at the calc super quick on my Tyranitar versus an Iron Moth that's speed boosting but -1. No Tailwind. T-Tar should always be faster. So I think I can just go for a Brave Bird into the Moth. And I can Light Screen. Do get the Light Screen up for the foreseeable future. Maybe it's Brick Break Scizor. We do drop a Brave Bird into the Moth. Should do okay, like 60%, which is kind of huge. Does Moltres KO itself? No. Do get a Fiery Dance. Klefki would have actually eaten one, which is cool to see. He does get the boost. And Scizor Swords Dances. So he kind of bypasses the burn. But he's still only at neutral. So he would do like 30% to T-Tar. Probably about the same to Spectrier, if not a little more. I really can't offensively threaten it from the position I'm in, unfortunately. I mean, I could launch an Overeat into it. It is resisted, but it could still do a big chunk of damage. Could also launch a Overheat into Moth. Scizor. Yeah, Overheat's doing like 30% to Sizz still, which I think is valuable chip. I'll just Brave Bird into the Moth, get a Reflect up, kind of nullify the Scizzor's damage forever. I think if we get rid of Moth, that's the best case scenario. Bullet Punches, so he does take out Moltres, which is totally fine. Fiery Dance might, or actually he got +1, so Fiery Dance definitely does KO Klefki here. So he does get the Fiery Dance off. KO's Klefki. But I think we're in a pretty good position. We do have options here. So we can Terra the Spectrier and Terra fighting the rock type SCIZOR. But we could also Terra the TYRANITAR to stop Bullet Punch from being super effective on it. I think that's our better play. We've Terra'd T-Tar all 3 rounds here. Could go for a Dragon Dance with T-Tar. If I look at Spectrier into Iron Moth, that's speed boosting. Shadow Ball is still doing like 46%. So I think a Dragon Dance, Terra, or I could just high horsepower TYRANITAR into SCIZOR. I mean, high horsepower is not KOing. So I think a Dragon Dance and a Shadow Ball into the Moth is our best play. So we do Terra T-Tar every single time, which probably inadvisable. I probably should have been a little more diverse with my Terra options, but just removing its weaknesses are very important. Does Bullet Punch into T-Tar. Only does 37%. We do get a Shadow Ball into the Moth. KOs it, so we get +1 on Spectrier. We're looking good. We've got screens for several more turns. Got our boost. And we Dragon Dance. So now T-Tar should be faster than everything on his team. He's already Terra'd, so Ogerpon can't become a pure water type. Does my... oh, we've set up SCDA for him now that I think about it. So Spectrier almost certainly does not KO this SCIZOR. If we are at... man, this calc is crazy. If we are at +1, but he's a rock type, there's Sand Up. I'm doing 79 to 93. So Muck comes in. Muck-alola versus TYRANITAR at +1. I mean, high horsepower should always KO, assuming we land it. So we'll just go for high horsepower into Muck. Muck does not threaten TYRANITAR really at all. So I can just Shadow Ball into the SCIZOR. High horsepower comes out, we do land it. Muck lives on like 1. And Shadow Ball goes into SCIZOR. Does it also live on like 1? Oh, it lives on a ton. That's very SCDA SCIZOR. So he does go for the Terra Blast Rock. This will hurt. It knocks us to 27. Yeah, that really hurt. And knocks off Spectrier's Spooky Plate. So we should have been Culver Berry here, and that's my bad. I don't know if we have enough gas in the tank to clean this up. TYRANITAR lives. So he gets a knockout with Bullet Punch here. Okay. Muck dies to Sandstorm this turn, but he gets a knockout with Bullet Punch guaranteed. That SCIZOR is way more SCDA than I expected. Okay. I think I Rock Slide. Spread move. I should have had Protect on Spectrier. That's on me. I think we lose, unfortunately. Snarl is definitely not KOing Sizz. So I think I do have to Shadow Ball into SCIZOR as well. Bullet Punches to Spectrier A. We don't live. But a Rock Slide should get a double KO here. We do double land. We do double knockout. So it all depends on what his last Pokemon is. He knows my full set. It's not Tinkatuff, for sure. So it's either the Ogerpon or the Salamence. We are clear aim. Hello. Yeah, so this isn't the last turn of the battle. Unfortunately, Elgato's native recording software stopped recording at like 32 minutes, 57 seconds. Did not catch the last turn of the battle and my post-battle results. So just to recap, it was Tyranitar with 16 health. We got hit by our own sand down to 5 health. He brings in Ogerpon. We confirmed that Ogerpon had Spiky Shield. So I clicked Terra Blast. He Spiky Shielded, and I knocked myself out to the last turn of Sandstorm. So we did lose game 3. My opponent played it pretty much perfectly. But if I had not brought Sandstream Tyranitar, if I had brought Unnerve instead, then we probably would have won if things went the same way. Because SCIZOR would not have had the Spadef boost, and the Sand would not have KO'd our own Tyranitar. And who knows, maybe the Sand wouldn't have put Spectrier in range of the Bullet Punch from SCIZOR as well, because I'm pretty sure that was a roll. Not positive, though. But sorry the battle ended that way. I'm going to try to play around with my recording software. If I can't figure out why it's cutting off around 30 minutes, it's not due to memory or anything, then I'll just have to start recording these battles one at a time, which is pretty annoying, but we'll figure it out. And we'll see you next week for week 2.